Good evening. We'll call to order the Monday, June 26, 2023 meeting of the Corte Madera Parks and Recreation Commission. Please salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Rebecca, will you do roll call, please?
Commissioner Brown is absent. Commissioner Elson, absent. Commissioner Koenig,
Present.
Commissioner Phipps, Commissioner Rose is absent. Commissioner Blumling, Vice Chair Charlie, and Chair Miles.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Before we start with those items on our agenda, we'll start with time for open public comments on items not on our agenda. Members of the public will be given 3 minutes apiece and can either raise a hand or email comments to publiccomment@tcmmail.org. Rebecca, do we have any raised hands for public comment?
We do not have any emailed public comments tonight, but we do have a raised hand from Clark Miller, who I will unmute, but I just need a moment to add the timer into the meeting. So just give me 10 seconds.
Problem.
Need to make
Be on
sure.
the shorter side.
I know. Okay, you can go, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Clark Miller. I'm with Corte Madera Football Club. Nice to see you all. I just wanted to call in and offer my appreciation for all the work that Tim Berry and RJ Suko have been doing on behalf of the town fields. There's been a lot of effort committed to finding a near-term solution to improving the fields in time for the start of the fall season. And I think the plans that they've developed, we're really optimistic we'll get them into shape where we have the proper playing surface for a good season ahead. And that's going to include doing some additional aerating and seeding and fertilizing and some rest for the fields that, again, I think between now and about 6 weeks from now when the season starts, we really hope and think that there will be some nice improvements. So thank you to Tim and RJ for that. And then secondarily, just wanted to offer our support for advancing the town's master plan, the Parks and Recs master plan. I know you guys have put a ton of effort into it, and that seems to be kind of the key to coming up with a long-term strategy for the town fields. And we would love to support that effort and see that advance to the town council. And so I am curious, I know you're not really supposed to respond during this, but where I might be able to find information on the timing of when that will be further discussed at this commission and then eventually taken to town council. But that is it. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you, Clark, for your comments.
Yeah, I wanted to say thank you as well. It's nice to hear the town staff complimented for their really hard work. You don't always hear that. So thanks for taking the time to do so. I think we can provide an update on timing.
You can.
Perfect. The current plan is to bring it back to commission probably in August. We're doing a lot of work behind the scenes with all the consultants to kind of get some real ideas and some follow from our last meeting. So the plan would hopefully to bring it to commission in August. If everything gets approved, then it would go on to council either not September or October. That's kind of the proposed timeline right now.
Rebecca, do we have any other raised hands?
We do not have any additional raised hands, and we did not receive any emailed public comment.
At this time, we will close public comment and move on to presentations, starting with the Corte Madera Children's Center 2-year summary by the site directors.
So Alex and Alex will join us remotely, and Rochelle Dibley is here also to help with support. So let me pull up their presentation and look, there they are. Hold on one second. I get to present mode without seeing everything. I can't even see it. I have my glasses on. Oh, there you go. It just reset. All right, Alex, and Alex, take it away.
Awesome. Well, for those who don't know me, my name is Alexandra Duran. I am the childcare program coordinator. So throughout the school year, I run Corte Madera Children's Center, and now this summer, I am taking on Camp Corte Madera. This is my lovely site coordinator, who's also named Alexandra. Her last name's Poretz. She's been by my side throughout the whole way. Next slide, Tim. So I have been working for the Parks and Rec almost 9 years now. So in those 9 years, I've been able to see the different childcare programs that we've developed. So in the beginning, it was Kids Club. It's a town-run program. It ended in 2018, and it was actually held at the actual recreation center. Corte Madera Day Camp evolved in the summer of 2020, summer of COVID. We developed that, and we're using some classrooms of Neil Cummins in the summer, and that's when we had cohorts and had to adjust to the protocols and guidelines of COVID. That fall, is when we developed and were able to be in the portables that we are in now. It was known as a Twin Cities childcare. And so we were able to adopt these lovely portables and kind of start evolving or kind of hybrid or kind of COVID model of childcare for the school year. So it wasn't until spring 2021 that hybrid schooling came to play. We were, half of the day the kids would be in school, half the day we'd have them in our program here at the portables. But it wasn't until finally the fall of 2021 that we were able to develop a full functioning, kind of after COVID regular after school program off of Neil Cummins. And this is the same model that we're using for this school year and school year of 2020 to 2023. Next. And so in order to kind of create this model, Rochelle was able to survey different recreation departments, analyze fees, comparing different hours of operation with local jurisdictions of ours and reviewing different guidelines for programming for our school age childcare. And so with that, we were able to develop the schedule of fees. We offer a part day. So we realized that a lot of families have siblings, and we had developed this kindergarten part day for those that have older children attending Neil Cummins, and those, kindergarten, there's different schedules that they get out of school and timing. So we developed a kindergarten part day, which is from 2 to 2:50, a kindergarten full day, which is from 2 to 6, and then after school care for the 1st to 5th grade who get out at 2:50. And so we're operating until 6 throughout the school year. We do offer non-school days on, some teacher work days, holidays. So we offer 2 different options for families. That is a rec day, so it's a 9 to 3 option, and then a full day of 8 to 6. Next. Oh, this is you. So what kind of stands us apart from other programs? One, our registration. So we are allowing families the opportunity to choose the specific days of the month and just charge a daily fee. We saw that a lot of families and kids' schedules, change from a month-to-month basis. So we open registration monthly for parents and allow them, like I said, to pick the specific days they'd like childcare for and just get charged that. And obviously, there's additional add-ons that they can do, if schedules, change. But that's our registration. We want it to be really flexible and, offering the different care options for families. And we also do additional education school support for some kids, which we specifically do reading support. If they need any, math or English support too, we provide that in our time. It's so nice that we're conveniently located here on Neil Cummins, and that's why a lot of parents like that convenience for on site. And it also aligns with the other extracurricular activities that the Corte Madera Parks and Rec offer and, the school offers. So with them, we allow parents the opportunity to have their kids enroll in those classes, but also have a nice place to facilitate that. So we assist children to and from those classes and to childcare. And so it's just nice for parents. They just feel so comforted that they can, allow their kids to be able to do a variety of sports and programs, but also have someone to walk them to and from and have a nice place on campus to go to. Next.
So we found that structured free play is the best model for our program. It kind of gives the kids like the essence of freedom, but like not really, because it's actually all planned out. The first hour when the kids come in, it's quiet inside time. We have a beautiful quiet room, if I do say so myself. And the kids love to read in there. They color. We have an entire like binder of like coloring sheets and white paper and a self-serve area with, you know, colored pencils and pens and stuff like that. Free play activities outside. We have a bunch of like bikes and scooters. We have, you know, wall ball and a sand pit. So first hour is really nice for them to kind of like get their jitters out, but also kind of like get their homework done. We do provide snack. So that's after that, and we usually go down to the Neil Cummins playground. The last 2 hours is more of the structured free play. We open up the foosball and air hockey, and we used to have ping pong, but we don't anymore. We also offer an art activity, but on Wednesdays, we actually do get to use the Neil Cummins gym because we have 2 extra hours with them. Next. So we found that having a rewards chart is really helpful and gives the kids, you know, a goal. So we offer a rewards chart and we have these beautiful parties. We've done popsicle party, pizza party, ice cream sundae, anything that you can think of, we've come up with it. We did a carnival, donut party, all that stuff. So next. Ro, this is all you.
Take over.
Oh, you gotta come. Yeah, get from the podium. Front switch right there.
Hi, everyone. So one of the things that I decided that to put together after last year's report was just a little bit more statistical information now that we have 2 years behind us. I mean, you'd think it'd be super easy, like I'd have it all down, but when I made my proposed budget last year, I might have shot a little bit high on how much revenue I thought they were going to bring in. So when we very first opened the program, we weren't sure how many children we're going to have. We weren't sure how much we're going to be open. You know, we were kind of flying a little bit by the seat of our pants just to try to figure out what the needs were. When the other program closed, it was during COVID. So there wasn't really a good basis of information for us to figure out how many kids we were going to have. And in doing the research that I did with the other departments, the rec departments, but also other private child development programs in Marin, one of the things that became really obvious was I wasn't going to be able to figure it out, and we were just going to have to like go with the flow. So when I set the initial budget in 2021, of course, as you can see, when I did the mid-year adjustment, they were already well above revenue for what I thought they were going to make in the year by the half-year point. So I did my best to figure it out again, and then I overshot, which I kind of thought might happen. The good news is, of course, the expense was a lot lower than I thought. In Marin and in the Bay Area, it's very difficult at this time to get folks to work in child development after school programs. It's no longer a full-time job. And when I was first in child development at 34 years ago, it was a full-time job, and it was a benefited position. And now it's difficult to have even one person in a benefited position to be able to support the rest of the program, let alone have an entire staff of people. And so in order to staff a program, right, do you need part-time people? And unfortunately, those jobs are not as much desired by folks that we used to get, which would be people going to College of Marin who were taking child development classes, or were psychology majors, or were doing that 2-year program in order to transfer out later. So these guys have had to be super creative and also be on the floor a lot of the day to be able to have a ratio that's appropriate for working with school age kids. So like the undesired result of that staffing problem, and not that we were understaffed, but just trying to get older staff that was a little bit different level of training, is that we spent way less in expenses for the year last year. So when we finished the year last year, about 107,000 above what we thought, which is great, and ended up buying some supplies that they needed that they didn't think they could afford, which of course we figured out later we could. So then I made a proposed budget for this year based on last year. And I was wrong again. Shocking. At this point in May, we had brought in about 285,000, almost 286. But when I looked this morning, we're at 291, and there's still a couple $100, like nothing big out that I really want to get in before Friday so that we can close the books on the school age program for the year. And then in expenses, as of the end of May, again, they were at 177,000 and their net again was 108 about. So they're still doing really well. And the girls really have been good about monitoring supplies, making sure they're staffed appropriately, but not overstaffed. I mean, the facilities that they have are outstanding. We were really lucky to be able to take those over. And then what they've done with the rooms is incredible. So if you haven't ever been over there, please, I encourage you to go see because it's amazing. And then for the proposed budget, I had to figure it out again for next year. So I went a little higher again, and I'm a little nervous, of course, looking at the numbers like, oh gosh, what if we don't get there? I'm hoping that the revenue is going to be at about 325,000 next year. The expenses will be about 250, and they'll have a cushion of about 75,000 for the next year.
If you could move the window so we could just see that last column, that'd be great.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's blocking the whole thing.
Do that.
Oh, sorry.
Make it easier for you. Thanks, Rebecca.
There we
Yeah,
go.
Perfect.
There we go.
Uh,
So that's my projection for next year. We'll see how we do. But as of this year, I was off on revenue by about 18,000, but I was way off on their expenses because they did such a great job kind of budgeting and making sure. You know, and we're hoping that next year, you know, we're able to keep the staff that we have. That's good. We have some people this summer who are working, who are really, really good, who I'm hoping can squeeze in some time in between their high school classes and their after school activities and all that. Because that is really helpful, just to enable us to take as many kids as we possibly can for the program.
Last thing I'll say before is that room is, first of all, immaculate. It's always very clean. It's always very cheery. Alex and Pogo do a great job of changing the decorations up. It's never the same boring room. It's always something different. It's always like this new decoration or this new thing. And the kids really feed off that, and they like that excitement. And I think it builds from the staff, and it builds from the kids that are excited to come every day. They run there from after school. They want to do their activities. They want no help, but they want to play games. Ro and I sometimes will fill in Ro more than me, but we love going over there because it kind of brings us back out our youth. What we got into recreation for, I'm gonna say 25 years ago, I won't say how long for Ro, but of how much we enjoy playing those fun, silly kids games with those kids. And they're like, you guys are really smart. I'm like, oh, okay, maybe we are. But I think they do a great job of interacting, engaging with those kids. And we see it every day. We go over how much those kids love to interact with the staff and love the activities.
My kids love it. The flexibility from the parents and the ability kind of to handle the different school days is great. The only feedback I've gotten is that it'd be great on those early, like the reading days, that extra like 1:30 to 3 coverage like you do for the kindergarten. But I think that's just more of what you've got going. It's a great program, and my kids talk about Alex and Alex all the time. So kudos.
Yeah, I'll echo that. Thanks so much. I saw the room for the first time just recently. Was over there and I was like, oh, look at this little magic you've got tucked in over here. I didn't even somehow realize exactly where it was. And so anyway, hats off to you guys. Thank you so much.
A question. I think it's such a great program. My kids have used it as well. And I know a lot of people who do, and the flexibility is so massive for parents. Not only do the kids' schedules change, but parents' schedules, everything is always evolving. And so that flexibility makes the program very unique among other options. So I appreciate it. In terms of the budget, do you mind going back one slide?
Sure.
Just curious why the proposed expense for next year is so much higher than what's been spent in the last 2 years. If there was a significant change coming, or
There's just a
anticipating
need.
staffing?
Those rooms are really old. If the district ever decided that they were going to sell them to us, let's just say, the depreciation is such that it's super, it'd be a good deal for us. However, saying that, the buildings are old and they need some work, and we definitely need some different furniture. So I budgeted for some things that are different,
That are bigger.
a little bit bigger. And also the kitchen area is actually we're like, in a way, it's a good thing that this is happening, but we should really have that separated physically with a barrier, like a counter. So I did put extra money in for that, just in case we can make that work. In the childcare centers I've worked in the past in San Rafael, all of them are inaccessible to the kids. There's actual physical doors, or there's a high counter in it, like a Dutch door or something, that makes it very clear that they're not supposed to be in there. And it's not like that where we are. And also, we did have the people who are doing all of the work for the master plan come in and made some suggestions that even if it doesn't make its way in the master plan, I wanted to put aside some money just in case.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Questions, comments? Thank you, Alex, and Rochelle. Amazing. Right. Tim, you're up next to talk about the July activity calendar and proclamation for Parks Make Life Better approved by Town Council.
Did I just lose it? I just lost it. Oh, yeah. Where did it go? I have two screens at work and one screen here. I'm sorry. There it is. Yeah, I got it. It was just back in here. Back to share screen. Too many screens, Rebecca. Okay. There we go. Nope. There we go. So every year in July, sorry, it is tiny. I will zoom in. I'm sorry. Hold on. I will zoom in. Is that better?
Sure.
That better? July. So every year, the California Park and Rec Society declares July as Parks Make Life Better month for professionals in the field. It makes sense. It is usually the nicest month. It is when most people are out being active. We brought a proclamation to council last meeting to basically encourage people to get out and be active. It's the proclamation that every town follows or city follows for July, to go explore your town, to go take a new class, go explore your neighboring town, do stuff to be active outside in your community. And this is a little counter we put in our recreation guide of everything from, hey, it's National Hop a Park Day. It's, hey, make a cornhole board, go visit a park, do stuff in your community. Obviously, for us, 4th of July next week is a big, everybody out in the community has a good time, and follows this very much to a T in being involved in your community, being involved in activities, go explore a park and do stuff with your neighbors. So every year that proclamation is made, and just bring in for stuff to do in July for Park and Rec Month for CPRS.
Yay.
Any questions on Park and Rec Life Better Month?
I don't think so.
I'm going to exit out of here.
It's too hard.
Okay.
With me. Oh,
Yes.
and it would do anything in that off again, on again. Do we need to talk about the proclamation for Make Life Better month? No. All right. So now we're talking about the introduction of Steve Detweiler as the new recreation supervisor.
Steve, come on, step up. So Steve is with us week 2. He has been amazing, jump right in. We were setting up for a family movie on Friday. He has been a valuable asset already. His passion, his energy is contagious in our department. And that we are very happy to have him. He's going to explain a little about himself and then what he's going to be doing.
Yeah, Steve Detweiler. I'm a Marin native, born and raised in San Rafael. Graduated from San Rafael High and went to Fresno State afterwards and graduated with a psychology degree. Upon graduating Fresno, I came back and became a baseball coach. I coached at San Rafael High for 9 years. Actually, coached Rochelle's son, Richard, for all 4 years. And in 2020, stepped down because I had a family and just wanted to take care of my family during that time. And now currently a coach at Novato High. I was a big part of starting up the San Rafael Pacifics. I was the first player signed there and also worked in the front office. Worked my way up in 2 years to become the assistant general manager under Mike Shapiro. And then helped out start line drive baseball and softball in San Rafael as well. And currently now the owner of Stings Baseball up in Novato. So been really active, really working with the kids basically my whole career. I've been doing it for 14 years already, and extremely excited to be part of the town of Corte Madera. Like I said, I'm in my second week now. And the very first week, got to meet the team, meeting a lot of people. I really enjoy the people I work with already. I feel like I'm already building some great relationships, and just really excited to be a part of here, and excited to be part of the team. So thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
So part of Steve's main roles, he's going to take on all of our rentals for our facility. So our recreation center, the gym in Neil Cummins, the music room, the fields. So we're really building a relationship with those clubs who use those organizations and then who use our facilities, and then helping out with special events. So we're kind of just giving him the deep dive into facilities right now. And he's learning all the ins and outs and the things that we have some projects we want to work on, and comes with that background to help in managing a facility, which is helpful. And then just working with people to reserve anything in the town, and then just build our relationships going forward. So definitely enjoy having him on the team, and everybody is looking forward to working with him.
Steve, welcome to Corte Madera.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Is there anyone from public comment, Rebecca, that or any public comments, raised hands? No public comment before we close presentations?
Yes, please. The mic is still on, so you can just come to the podium and I will get the timer.
Great. My name is Kevin Salas. I live in Corte Madera, off of Paradise. Been here about 4 years. I just saw on the calendar. I was lucky to get over here from Trader Joe's, but striping pickleball courts at Granada. Did you guys talk about that, or is that?
Oh, no, that's
okay?
actually coming up later on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
All right, if you're here to speak about that, it'll be up shortly.
There you go.
Okay.
Anything else on presentations before we close public comment? Right. So moving on to the consent calendar. The purpose of the consent calendar is to group items together which are routine or have been discussed previously and do not require further discussion. They will be approved by a single motion. Any member of the commission, town staff, or public may request removal of an item for discussion. Rescheduling of the items will be at the discretion of the chair of the commission. Do we have anyone who would like to approve or make a movement to approve the minutes from the May 22nd meeting?
So moved.
We have a second.
A second.
Vote, please.
Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Elson, Commissioner Koenig,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Rose, Commissioner Blumling, Vice Chair Charlie,
Yes.
and Chair Miles.
Yes. All right, that brings us up to our business items. Review and possible approval of striping pickleballs at Granada Park.
Here we are again. As many people know, pickleball is probably the fastest growing sport in this area and in the United States alone. In 2018, we, as the Park and Rec Department, permanently striped 2 line pickleball courts at Town Park. Since then, we've had such a high demand for our classes and drop-in that we regularly chalk 3 additional lines at Town Park. So there's actually 2 permanent, 3 more chalk that we do chalk monthly for both our classes and drop-in play. In looking at our master plan matrix that we had in this process, pickleball courts were the highest ranked out of any facility or any activity that they had asked to be put in Corte Madera. The purpose here is to receive approval to put 2 pickleball courts at Granada Park, permanently stripe them for right now. We've already reached out to First Serve, who did our courts at Town Park to kind of get an estimate, which is attached. And then they basically are not backed up anymore, able to stripe these if they're approved by commission. And then basically it is a kind of almost a pilot or a stepping stone to the recommendation that came out of the master plan, was a permanent pickleball courts at Granada. So we kind of see this as a trial run to see, does this work? what are the impacts, what are the concerns, and then bring it to you to kind of have a discussion before we have a further discussion, probably in August, of the full master plan. I've attached 3 attachments of the current at Town Park, the chalked additional courts at Town Park, and then what it would look at Granada, possibly if approved. And then if is approved, it's about $1,600 per the quote. And we have recreation funds to support that, to stripe the courts and purchase 2 nets for 2 pickleball courts.
Right, so now let's open public comment.
All right.
Yeah, now.
Sorry about like I was saying, I was shopping, I got small kids, I'm surprised I'm here. But anyway, nice to be here. Good to see you all here. Thanks for doing this public service. I'm all for pickleball, nothing against it. I hope you guys go ahead with that. That sounds great. But I live in that neighborhood of Granada Park, and there's a basketball court there. And I wrote a couple letters to Tiburon thinking it was their property. But now that I saw this on the agenda, I realized maybe you guys control that property. But I would just like to get the basketball court fixed. Like, in addition to getting the pickleball court fixed, have the hoops replaced, the metal hoops and the nets, because there's a ton of kids in that neighborhood. Everyone's got a hoop in their driveway, but they can't play against each other, like a 3-on-3, 5-on-5 game. So is this a proper place? Is this something that would interest you guys? Like, just the Granada Park, there's like in disrepair, and we probably could use some. I mean, even if you do pickleball, you're going to need to resurface the ground at some point. It's really beat up. A lot of good work's been done there recently with the tree removal, making it safe, the path that goes up and around. But we could really use a new surface. And if you're going to do pickleball courts, which is great, I don't think you have to not have basketball as well. I think you could have both. And I'm sure they would, use. Yeah, I don't know how you mean an example. I don't imagine that'd be a huge problem getting people to play both. So how's that sound? Let's get some get the hoop court that I think you're talking about using, right? Would that be the hoop court? The basketball court?
Actually, maybe Tim can share
Yeah, I
a
didn't-
picture from the
didn't see a
agenda
picture.
packet. But so technically, it's in Corte Madera's jurisdiction.
Yep.
But that property where the basketball courts are on is owned and operated by the Reed School District.
Yeah, that's why I sent my
So-
letter to, asking to get the basketball court. Yeah, go ahead.
We can probably help reach out to the people that could make those decisions and maybe send them a link to this video linking to your public comment specifically. I know people have reached out about that in the past. It is
Great.
a common question, and I know it would be well used by children in the community. It's just not something that our Parks and Rec has jurisdiction over.
So just clarify for again, you're talking about putting the court in a different area or where the basketball court is?
Correct. Well, at there are existing tennis courts above the park.
Oh, you're going up to the tennis court.
Yeah,
Up the top.
the-
Oh,
the-
gotcha.
this pilot program to strike
Gotcha.
pickleball courts on those tennis courts, because
So-
part
so-
of what will come out of the master plan is the potential for standalone pickleball courts.
Gotcha. So right now you're gonna do both tennis and pickleball on that court?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now. I'm sorry. When you said it, I just thought the most logical place was down below. But so maybe I could maybe get your number or something and just find out what the next steps are. That'd be
Yes,
great.
oh, I don't have it on me, but
Card, anybody got a card?
in my room.
I kind of just busted it on you guys.
No, that's
it.
great.
Yeah, that was great. I was doing like,
Yeah.
you're in the meeting.
We can definitely help get your comments to the people that can
Yeah.
make those changes.
Beautiful. And your name?
Rebecca.
Rebecca, can I just write down her name? So
Yes.
I'll call and just ask for Rebecca. And then I'll just give you my info and
Rebecca's the town clerk. Okay.
fantastic. Yeah, great. Okay, well, thanks very much. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
And again, thanks for doing this work.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Congratulations, man. Thank you.
Rebecca, do we have any more emailed public comments or raised hands?
Not seeing any raised hands, and we did not receive any additional public comment.
So we can bring it back to the commission for discussion. Thoughts on pickleball striping?
I have, I agree with everything you said about the growth of pickleball. It's so popular. It's the sport these days. I have a question. Do we have rules about the use of the pickleball courts and the nets and things like that?
We do. They're all posted on the courts, and then we do leave some nets out for public use, and there are some nets that our instructor brings out. Our plan is not to have any instruction at Granada, just leave it open for the public to use, to keep the instruction down at the town park.
Okay.
And many people who play pickleball regularly have their own nets.
Yes.
That's sort of part of the standard equipment is the paddle and nets.
Yeah.
So so just the courts being lined is inviting play, which is great.
One thing that I personally experienced and was at Town Park, the pickleball nets were left on the tennis court. And so they're in the middle of the tennis court, so not only that, the gate was left open, but the pickleball nets were left on the tennis court. So if you're a tennis player and the other court is taken, it puts it upon you to move these pickleball nets over to clear the court. And do you have a rule about them clearing the court so that?
Our instructor clears it. Oftentimes public will leave them out. But our instructor does set them up and take them every time he puts them off to the side. So they're out of the way for both tennis and pickleball. We'd actually look at purchasing some that has some wheels on it. So it's easy to wheel on and wheel off instead of trying to pick it up and carry it. So it's just so one person could wheel off if they needed to.
Great idea. Thank you.
I think overall, I definitely support using Granada Park in this way. I think it may bring more attention to the park that many people don't even know it's there or only used for tennis. And so I totally in support of this.
If I could ask a question about attachment 2. So this is with respect to the 3 temporary courts placed at Town Park.
Mhm.
So first question is, maybe an assumption / question. Thanks. The one of Town Park, there we
Right there.
go.
Perfect.
So the 3 temporary, the dotted line ones is 3 because that by and large is the amount extra that we're being asked. Could it be 2? And the only reason I suggest that is that by 3 up and down as they are, it eliminates, if those pickleball courts were all used, it eliminates tennis completely. If there were 2 temporary and they were side to side, like the permanent ones below, you'd have 4 as opposed to 5, but then in theory, if someone were playing tennis, that was still possible. That's at least how it looks to me. I'm not sure in practicality that that's how that goes down.
So the 3 were just on demand of how many people we had in our class. The other challenge was when you get close to that second tennis court, that people can expand out and can hit into the other net, into the other area. That you can, I'm gonna get this wrong now, but George Archer said you can hit it around the post. Never played pickleball, but that's the word I got. Well, so there you go, see, and that could come into effect of the tennis court. So basically, usually when pickleball is on, there's usually those when we have our classes, those 4 are the ones we use, and if it has to the 5th one. Otherwise, when it's just pickleball, usually that one court close to the parking lot has pickleball, and the one, I'm sorry, has pickleball, and the one far one has a tennis court. Has tennis. We've only seen those 4 being used at the same time for our classes. I've never seen that many drop in for that.
Because if you're playing pickleball and you go all the way around the net, you're going to be in the other person's court. So there's not really a way to stripe one court and leave that other tennis court fully open because of that red bit and where those lines are. The players are actually going outside of those lines.
And also just, it's too close to the tennis. I mean, it wouldn't, there aren't, for example, in Larkspur at Piper Park, there's fencing that separates the courts. You really need to have that if you're going to be side to side with full on. But as Tim was saying, this is only temporary or only used for the classes for
correct.
instruction.
Got it. And so that's because then if that's the issue, if there's no way to have 4 pickleball and 1 active tennis court because of, people go outside the lines, and that makes sense to me. But then if that's the case, why bunch the 4 on one side if we're going to use the whole thing? And I'm assuming the reason is because it's instruction and that's how the instructor works. Okay, well, then it makes sense to me.
I'm certain there are going to be people in the community who are upset that we have lined some tennis courts. And so I think we have not had anyone come for public comment from that perspective. We are preserving at least 1 full tennis court in both places. And I'm under the assumption that we can unline a tennis court if and when we have dedicated pickleball courts.
They'd be repaid, but yeah, we would repay them. It's hard to take up the thing. Yeah. Our plan was basically to start this as a pilot program to see if we have any huge outcry or people who are really love it or really have challenges with it. And then kind of a good footing for if we want to install permanent pickleball courts next to tennis courts as kind of the master plans kind of guiding us that way.
Do you have an idea of where you would put permanent pickleball courts at this?
It'll come out in the next master plan discussion. I think that one of the discussion was next to it to leave the tennis courts alone and then put them next to it. But there are some challenges with some of the terrain there and some other stuff. But there are ideas of, since it was so high in the survey, where do we put it? So do we put some permanent ones here and then maybe change one at Town Park? But that'll all come out in the master plan process.
Tim, do we, other than public outcry, any way to get a sense of how much tennis we're getting at these courts versus how much pickleball? I know we can.
Are you talking Town Park?
Either place, kind of if we're how we're balancing out the two populations.
When I'm talking to George, tennis players eventually go play pickleball. I think it's that progression.
Yeah.
I think still people are very hardcore tennis players and some people are very hardcore pickleball players. I think it's still both very active. Just because their two courts are next to each other. And I think that people are doing both. I know, was it Novato just opened up a brand new indoor pickleball courts, and they're full. Actually, our consultant travels to Novato to play. It's so popular.
Okay.
So yeah. But I think with only having two, you're not going to have that mass of 40 people show up. It's still just going to be two games at one time where you have, if we had, 8 permanently lined, it would be a little bit of chaos.
As we think about key sales every year, is there a way to kind of ask people when they're picking up a key? Are they mostly pickleball, mostly tennis? or
Absolutely.
A combo? Okay.
Absolutely.
That'll give us a sense for kind
Yeah.
of how much, it's an idea,
Yeah.
the usage that we're getting.
So July 1st is the midway point. So we have a full year and then we have a half year price. So we can start asking, and we actually have all of that in our registration database. So we can find out, hey, are you buying a key for pickleball? Are you buying a key for tennis? Or are you buying a key for both? Yeah.
And get a sense. Okay. I think it'd just be helpful to kind of keep track of.
Yeah.
How many pickleball courts do we? That's what do we think?
Is the lining, the color is different, I assume, so that visually when you're.
Correct. The lining is
Not an
color.
issue.
Yes. Except if you're colorblind like me, and then you would know the difference. So
It is very, I play tennis and it's distracting. I mean, there's a reason some tennis players are opposed to this just simply because of the integrity of the court. Well, maybe not simply that. That's the reasons. But that being said, I mean, people want to play this sport, so we need to provide an opportunity to play it. But the more and more public courts you play on that are lined, you just learn which lines you should pay attention to, depending on which game you're playing.
And do we have any sound issues at Town Park for the people who live on Pixley?
I think just the normal sound issues of general of the park, but not specifically about pickleball. No.
Okay, so we'll keep an eye on that for
It would
if we're
be
not neighbors in
interesting.
Granada. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit louder.
It's in like a valley, it may.
So if you want to go practice, there's 4 of you. You could.
Freak it off. We'll try it out. No other questions for me? All right. We do not need to vote. Is there an action? Is there an action?
The action was to provide direction to staff. So if you feel that you've provided direction to proceed,
Yes.
and that's the direction taken, then we're good. But we took public comment already, so we are okay.
All right, so moving on to staff updates and commissioner reports. Tim.
Sorry, lots of papers today. All right, so let's first start with the Town Park Skate Park update. So we had a great kickoff meeting in May. They came to us kickoff in May, came to discuss us. The next step is they have had some great results of the survey. They are at about 93% out of the 70 people enrolled were from Marin County. Overall, welcoming new and improved changes. I think there were just 3 people out of the survey who were concerned about the noise. And then I think we got 1 letter from the same thing about the noise in education. They are planning another survey out of what came out of the first survey of, hey, these are the elements we really would like to see in the park. Where do you rank these? And then basically out of that survey, come back to commission either in July or August with some kind of rough drawings of what it would look like. Hey, they really want. I'm not a skater, I'm sorry. They really want these elements in the park. Here's what it kind of looked like. Here's kind of where we are in funding, and here's how it would impact the neighborhood and impact the actual skate park. and then come to you, like I said, in July or August, and then hopefully go into council after that. They are ready to go for fundraising. They just want to go ahead from the city. So as soon as we say, yes, we can do it, they're going to go full force in fundraising in going forward to Swan the Park. We meet every other week to kind of check in, and they're going to get me a new survey before 4th of July. So people who are at 4th of July can scan a little code and say, hey, here's an update on the skate park. What elements would you like to see in the skate park? So that's thousands of people at the park, as we all know, a great opportunity to contact with some people and go the next step. So they're very excited. They want to make the next step. I just need approval from obviously commission and council to give them the green light, and they'll start their fundraising campaign. Any questions on the skate park? Okay. Town Park East and Westfield maintenance. Want to get this all right. So when we last met, we kind of had some direction to staff to kind of talk about the possible application of an herbicide to Town Park for the East and West Fields. Since that meeting, the Corman FC came to the June 6th meeting, asked on council to address it. And council directed staff to come back at the June 20th meeting, which they did, to talk about applying a herbicide to both the East and West Field at Town Park. RJ Succo and I gave a presentation to council on the 20th. When we had submitted the staff report, we were under the impression that the herbicide that the turf consultant had recommended would eradicate the weed that we thought was there. We had thought it was actually something called the red thread weed. Before the council meeting, it was determined that that was not the actual weed that was out there. It was actually called Path Rush, learning a lot of these weeds. And the herbicide that was suggested would not eradicate this weed. So RJ and I made a presentation to the council and said, the best solution right now is not to apply an herbicide to the East and West Field. Instead, to basically, as Clark said earlier, increase aeration, increase seed, and increase fertilization of those two areas. And that is on track for after the 4th of July. We're going to keep the East Field closed and roped off until I think it's the first week of August when they start. And then after 4th of July, do both the East and West Field with those three. And then in August, if about 2 weeks before, if we see it some really, really bad areas, and go back and hit those areas again with some aeration and some fertilizer, some seed. That was the direction that was the best way. And from when we first I met last month to where it was 2 weeks ago, you could see a huge improvement. There are definitely the weeds that are now being eradicated by just the natural grass coming back. And just the ability to water more, the ability to put the fertilizer on, the real ability to aerate those fields. It is definitely a short-term solution, we think, for the fall coming up. And then, like we said, is a long-term solution in the Park and Rec Master Plan to make any changes for the long-term for the East and West Field. So again, working with Corte Madera FC, meeting with RJ on a regular basis to go over field conditions and make them the best shape they can for August. And then I'm still sharing my screen for August, and then just from where we were last year, it looks 1,000 times better. So I think that's the key, is just to keep up with this plan and make those fields playable for the groups.
Thank you for kind of directing us to, for those of you who didn't see it, the clips from the town council meeting was incredibly informative, as to kind of not only what the staff has done and working with RJ to date, but also kind of getting a sense for where town council was on a lot of these issues. So just want to reemphasize some of the things that I took away from that conversation was kind of the emphasis on the supporting this part of our community, that this is roughly 30% of the town of Corte Madera, if we think about the people who are actively involved in soccer. So it's a pretty big part of the community, and town council is pretty emphatic that we do what we can to support them. And also the emphasis on herbicide and pesticide avoidance as much as possible. There was a great deal of concern that we got kind of close to taking some action that town council would not be excited about. So kind of wanted to bring that back. But what I also heard them come back with, which I think is a great idea, is thinking about what qualifies a playable field. And so how do we think about the level of field maintenance we're trying to get to? And I would imagine that there is some sport fielding body that has a grading system that we could adopt in some way to say, you know, what's true about our pieces of the field. I would also invite that there are some non-toxic technical herbicides or herbicidal soaps and whatnot that could potentially be things that would fit within our sustainability, environmental zeitgeist,
and eradicate weeds, they will be a lot less effective than some of the more potent things on the market, but it's something possibly as we think about it. The other thing I took away was kind of an interest from council and however we can support, because it is a partnership with RJ and his team on what does a budget look like to maintain this. So I'm curious a little bit about how often we have our grass expert come out. Do we need more of their time in addition to kind of frequency of aeration, frequency of seeding? We've been talking about like the path rush and the red thread. There's also a slight infestation in one of the corners of California burr clover, which is a creeping clover that will suffocate the grass that I've been enjoying in one corner of the park. So there's kind of stuff that's going to be coming out given kind of the fluctuation we've got between drought and deluge of water. We're going to continue to enjoy kind of all sorts of stuff growing up in our grass that we'll be battling. So I think it will not be a one-time thing. So I think that is how I'd invite us to continue to support RJ and kind of the pursuit of field maintenance.
And they did ask the expert, would it be a good idea of a weed pulling party? And he basically did say that you would basically pulling out some of the grass that's growing when you pull out those weeds. So he had said, basically, let's keep on this path and keep this maintenance up, and then do that instead of trying to get out there with a pull a weed day, whatever you want to call it.
It's not that it's not effective. It just takes hours.
Yes, it does take hours.
I think what he said about this weed too is that you risk spreading it to other areas.
Yes.
Because it gets on your shoes and it tracks. So they said to be wary of that.
We will, each weed we battle will have its own special care plan. And I think that's where it's how do we start to think about the level of support we need to kind of help us mitigate all the different things we're going to get growing out there.
I also watched the video, and I mean that I feel like that's a good question as to what level of field are we trying to obtain? I mean, are we training professional soccer players, or what kind of program do we have? My son went through it and it was wonderful for him before the whole, it was such a huge program, and it's great to see the program grow like it has. The other thing about watching the video was I was a little unclear as to the budget and the funds, how we're going to fund this. And in one comment, I thought you made a comment saying that the soccer program wasn't really a moneymaker, but then on the other hand, they were saying it makes a lot of money. So I'm unclear as to, and does it support itself? Does all of this money that we get from the soccer clubs, does that support the maintenance of the field and the maintenance and all we need to do to support this program?
So I'll say two things. One, I think the East Field is the one that's been roped off, probably is the highest level of soccer players. The older you get, the more of a true soccer pitch you want to have. That field wasn't designed to be that way. You're trying to get it to a level where that it's acceptable for play. Obviously, if you're on a turf field or a field that's literally just made for soccer, it's a totally different thing. This is a community park. It's not a soccer complex. So I think that's the battle that when the park was put in, it was always been a challenge of, hey, as we've gotten bigger and gotten more kids, which is great, that at some point those kids aren't, the level of play on that field is not what they need. So we have to figure out how do we either get it to that level, or do we have to have them somewhere else to go? Overall, the soccer club does bring a lot of money in. Yes, absolutely. We also spend a lot of money. So one of the things Rochelle and I deal with on a regular basis is examining kind of profit for loss and all the time. There's a lot of time put into it and a lot of money put into it, but there's a lot of expense that we also pay out. So our engineers are constantly trying to figure out ways to have some money to put some more improvement back in the fields so that it's sustainable, so people stay with the club and they don't leave the club and go somewhere else. But at some point, it is a town park. It's not a soccer complex, which is the hard battle for me as a soccer and a field guy. It's like, I really run at this beautiful pitch, but it's not a community park. So that's that kind of balance we're doing. I think going forward, we have a better maintenance plan to get it up to a level that's acceptable for that play, where a year ago there were giant dirt patches and it was nobody wanted to play on it, where now it looks so much better than it was, and just keeping it at that standard and just evaluating, the club has a huge role in the community. We said there's 10,000 people and there's 1,200 people who play soccer. Now they're not all from Corte Madera, but they're probably all from Greater Marin. And the club has gotten bigger and bigger, and it is a vital part of the community. So I still need to balance how to figure out to get that feel of that top shape and keep a vital program for everybody in the community, because everybody does love playing soccer. It is the big town in town.
And I think just to echo that or piggyback on that, Tim, the level of competition that the club or in all youth sports, it's evolving and changing. And so some competitors are playing in these complexes that are designed specifically for the sport. And so in order to stay at a reasonable level of competition, we do need to meet their needs in a balanced way, as you described. But I think that that's really an important point here, because it's youth sports is different than it was a few decades ago, 5 years ago, let alone 20 years ago. But so I appreciate the efforts, and I think that the balances that you guys are striking is really strong.
I think it would help to have this, whatever kind of objective, this is what qualifies as like level 1, level 2, level 3, and we can pick, we want to be here, and this is the budget we need to get to whatever level of sports field play exists. Would be helpful.
So thanks, Tim, to you and RJ for really getting into the weeds on this one. Right in there. I didn't quite hear or didn't understand an answer though to the question. Is it, it's not money generating? I heard they pay a lot, but we spend a lot. Is that net zero? Is it or is it impossible to say?
I would say it's an evolving process. Rochelle and I deal with on a regular basis. I think where we inherited from is a lot better than it was, but we still have a lot of work to do. I would say overall, if we included all of the stuff, my time, Rochelle's time, and field time, doesn't make any money.
Okay.
But I think that overall, it's still for the department for a long time has weighed the benefits of the community and seen that, hey, it's okay if we don't bring in a bunch of money. It's not like any of our other normal programs. It is definitely unique. We are the only town I know of from San Jose to probably Humboldt that has their own run soccer program by Park and Rec Department. Most of them are nonprofits. They handle it all. We are very unique in that situation, and that we're very community based. So, and that seems like how this club has always been. But I can't find another organization where literally the town or the city runs the program for them. If you look at Little League or look at lacrosse or anybody else, they're nonprofit boards who run the whole thing and rent the fields from us. So that is definitely a challenge we are dealing with. And that's why Rose's still on board. I'm letting her go anytime soon. That we try to find that, make it so that it makes sense for both people involved, because we all know soccer is very passionate in this community.
And there's, without a dispute, a lot of things other than the monetary aspect that I think the soccer clubs brings to the community. I've just, there's a dollar and cents, and I was wondering where we were. So, okay. All right.
Anything else on field maintenance? Excellent. Camp Corte Madera.
So we're in week 2 of Camp Corte Madera. As you know, we partnered with the school district for the summer school program. I believe they had 65 this week, basically kids who are coming from after school who are either in summer school in the free and reduced lunch program or just coming to summer school in general. They had their first trip to the pool last week. They walked to Redwood. Royal got to tag along. I would say it was just some apprehension from staff because they hadn't done it. They hadn't been since COVID, and it was like, oh, it's gonna, and they go, it's like, oh, it's okay, we can do this. It's like kids have fun, they sing songs as they get there. You have some kids who are very talkative, some kids who are like, I don't want to go. But it's like overall, they had a very good experience. They went swimming last week. They go swimming every Wednesdays. And they have their first field trip this Thursday. They're going to AMF Bowling in Petaluma. So we're doing our first field trip back. And kids are excited. It's kind of getting back into that pre-COVID camp and swim. So they're very excited to go. I think Ro and I are tagging along maybe on Thursday to go kind of just, support and kind of put everybody at ease that it's okay. And we'll be on our camp shirts and we know who we are. So it's a good time.
Great. Thank you.
How is enrollment?
So I know enrollment's good. Enrollment's good because summer school, we're seeing a little bit of decline when summer school's over. We are able to offer some scholarships to those kids who are after summer school is done to hopefully keep in camp. And it just depends on when people go on vacations. I mean, I think July seems to be the hard month because people want to get away before they come back for school year, which I get. We'd all like to get away in July if we could. So it's just hard. But we're learning every year. I think that this year's day at a time in summer camp, kind of mirroring the childcare module, helps a lot of people. It's like, I only need Wednesday, Thursday this week, or I only need Friday this week. So it's definitely great and flexible. It drives my staff sometimes crazy because you have last minute registrations and you're on the fly, and we have enough CITs and staff to cover it. But we welcome everybody coming in and being part of camp. Friday family movies. We had our first one last Friday. It was indoors. We showed Mary Poppins. We had about 40 people show up. A mix of young and adult, young and old. Inside, it was a crummy day outside. I'm glad we were inside. We did some popcorn, some licorice, and some candy. So kind of our first start of the movie series. We'll be back again in August, September for one at Cove, and when Cummins already partnering with the schools to as kind of a kickoff coming back for the PTA to say, bring out your kids, kind of meet and greet, all that kind of stuff. So working on those two, and hoping for nice weather in August and September. And then master plan, we will talk about that a little bit later also, but basically working with the consultants, kind of getting those final presentations back for you for either the July or the August meeting to kind of figure out after the last meeting of what do we want each park. Here's how it looks. Here's some costs associated with it. Rebecca and I sit in very long 2.5-hour meetings sometimes. I mean, it's great. It just the drill down detail is very informative. And just trying to basically make it so it's simple so that everybody else can understand, because it's a very complex process. But probably coming back in August or September, August to you guys possibly, and then council hopefully in September, October.
Yes, we had talked about trying to get a special meeting on the books and I couldn't quite figure.
Yeah, that's later in the
All right, commissioner reports. From the recent town council meeting, but I can say the recent town council meeting talked a lot about field maintenance, which we have talked about. The executive advisory committee met briefly to attempt to schedule meetings and we got not very far. So we will talk about that in our next item. Any other individual commissioner update reports?
I'll briefly say that I went to the skate park. I think it was May 31st. Saw you there,
Yep.
Tim. And it was lovely, well attended. People were sort of, generally excited about it. And I think this, I assume that this comment will come out also in the next survey, which is oriented towards, what do you want to see in a new park? But several people mentioned like, well, couldn't we use just a tiny bit more space and have this area for scooters or bikes? Like if you're going to do it, like how about a little bit more, a little bit of a land grab? So I don't know if that will, I assume it will come up in the next survey. But that's one of the only comments I thought I would add to it, what Tim said. I don't know if you heard that as well, but
we did. Our hope is to bring that back along with the master plan. So it's kind of a joint discussion as we're talking about all facilities and expanding possibly this. And then obviously, depending which way it's presented to commission, pass that same on to council to make a final decision of do we want to take a little bit of this or what are the challenges here and that kind of stuff. So it's going to go together. So.
right.
I attended the first concert at Menke Park. And it was very good, a lot of fun and well attended. A lot of people with their blankets out and chairs and kids, running around and enjoying it. So I'm glad we do that and hope we do more of those kinds of things in some of our parks. Yeah.
Rebecca, do we have public comment or Rebecca comment?
Oh, thank you, Chair. No, we do not have any public comment, but after, and I'm sorry I didn't catch this earlier, but after we moved on to item 6, I reread the agenda title for item 5A, the striping of the pickleball lines, and it does say review and possible approval of striping pickleball lines. So I feel like if with the chair's approval, we should reopen that item and take a motion in a second just to formalize it for the minutes.
Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to approve the striping of the pickleball lines at Granada Park?
I move to approve the striping of the lines of the pickleball courts at Granada Park.
Excellent. Do we have a second?
Well, if tennis player over there wants to, I second.
Rebecca, can we have a vote, please?
Thank you. I appreciate it. Commissioner Brown, Commissioner Elson, Commissioner Koenig,
Yes.
Commissioner Phipps,
Yes.
Commissioner Rose, Commissioner Blumling, Vice Chair Charlie, and Chair Miles.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. Appreciate that. May continue with the agenda.
Hey, I think we are on to routine and other matters. First up is a discussion of the July Parks and Rec Commission meeting and possible special meeting in August.
So as the executive board met, trying to find a date that worked to bring the master plan back. July is typically when we do not have a commission meeting, just because people are traveling and everybody's kind of gone. It also when we usually rotate out the new and old commission. So discussion of canceling the July meeting and having a special meeting early in August to have the master plan come back to the commission for approval and discussion, and then having our regular meeting in August, which we would on the books. So discussion and thoughts on people's calendars early August to have a special meeting.
Just to clarify, is the thought, because it's such a large agenda item, it should be discussed?
Yeah, our discussion was that, and like, we really want to have people back from vacation. So the discussion is, we have it in July, we're afraid we're going to have people who are not going to be here. And I am missing some commissioners already in July, knowing that. So I want to have it where everyone's here to have the discussion and people are back from vacation. So
But not at a regularly scheduled meeting, so not the August one.
correct.
It's meaty, yeah.
A special meeting, early August, master plan review from the consultant. Does the consultant have any restrictions in August, or is it kind of?
No, August was open. Yeah. You can give me a couple dates, I can go back, but I mean, it's first to start with you guys.
There a Monday in August that doesn't work for people?
I'm gone for 2 weeks. But not to the middle. The 7th is the only one that I personally could attend, but don't schedule around me.
Well, to the extent we can, we should.
Yeah.
You, yeah, I can do the 7th.
Let's shoot for the 7th.
Okay. Yep.
I also know that Commissioner Rose cannot do the 14th either.
There you go. See,
So there's 2 of us.
So the July 24th meeting would be canceled.
Mhm.
We'd have a specially held meeting specific to the master plan on August 7th is the idea, and then our regularly scheduled meeting on the 28th or the,
August? No. I think the only thing we'd bring back is possibly if the skate park had a big update, to bring it back the same time. So you'd have both discussions on that August 7th date.
If we're able to meet on August 7th, can we have a clear plan to present to council in September, not October, or?
I would say it depends what direction you give us at that meeting. I think if it's clear direction and we're okay with what's going forward, then yes, I think it goes back to council in September. And only one meeting in September for council? Okay. So it would be September 19th would be the September council meeting.
Just in the interest of agenda.
Yes,
Base holding.
yes.
All right, let's move forward with 8-7 unless something comes up. And if it does, we can look at other days that week potentially, right? Because you leave the following. All right,
Would it be at 6:30? I'm just to put on my calendar.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for yes.
right. And back to potential future agenda items. Would anyone like to add a topic, potential future agenda item? I don't think we have any ad hoc committee assignments other than enjoying July and items for yearly review. Following the master plan, it's the reorganizing of the commission and welcoming new commission members, which we will, do we need to swear people in on the 7th, Rebecca? For the special-
I believe Lorena has been doing the oaths for the reappointed and newly appointed commissioners.
Okay, so we won't need to do that.
But we will also welcome our departing commissioners back for a formal honoring there as well.
On the 7th or on the 28th.
Either,
Everyone has
I'll
either
figure
one.
that out.
Okay. All right. July, we don't have a commissioner covering July town council meetings.
And also August.
And also August. We have anyone really excited to?
May I also add that the town council is only having one meeting in each of the months of July, August, and September, if that is a draw for anybody.
I can take July.
Remind me the dates of the, I know you can watch it separately, but the dates of the council meetings are the Tuesday, the 2nd and 4th.
For July, it would be July 18th, and August would be August 15th, and September would be, September for
got September.
Commissioner Charlie is September 19th.
Sorry, Rebecca, what did you say in August?
15th.
15th.
Let me do that one since I only have one for September and I'm on September anyway. So let me do the August. I know you guys are dying to hear my recounts anyway.
So good at
So,
it. Perfect.
all right.
And I think that takes us through our items for yearly review, our next town council meetings. And if there's nothing else. Oh, recognition of outgoing commissioners.
Actually, we have Commissioner Brown watching remotely, so if you give me a moment, I know we've already said we're going to invite them back, but as long as she's on, I was going to promote her to panelist if she's able to share her camera and say hello to everybody. But again, for outgoing commissioners, Phipps and Brown, we will bring back resolutions honoring their terms of service signed by the council. We may present them before the council. May do both, but we'll keep you posted. So.
Just logged on.
Oh, perfect. So the titles say Commissioner Louise Brown, who was first appointed to the commission beginning April 7th, 2020, will be recognized for her service to the town on the Parks and Recreation Commission. And Commissioner Aline Phipps, who was first appointed to the commission beginning July 1st, 2015, will be recognized for her service to the town on the Parks and Recreation Commission. We're also honoring outgoing Youth Commissioner Alexander Blumling for his one-year term as Youth Commissioner. But we do have Commissioner Phipps and Commissioner Brown present, and if any commissioners would like to say any words.
So, Elaine, you've been on the commission the whole time I've been on the commission, so this will be a new era for me going forward, not having you here at the table with me. So thank you for many years of service in support of everything from master plan and your support of Minky Park and all things parties at the park. So I appreciate all of the time you spent. Louise, you've been a huge help for me to get comfortable with the gavel. So I don't know what I would have done without your guidance and support and all of that. You were huge in getting master plan up and running and really getting the commission a lot more active than we had in the past. So much appreciation to you in your time here on the commission. Others.
Yeah, well, I would give a big ditto. But yeah, also you come on slowly as I did last term and kind of watch, and you guys are just amazing veterans, knew all the ropes. And again, Louise, with the master plan, I mean, you got that up and running and whipped into shape. So nice to have served with you guys.
And I also will thank both of you. When I joined the commission a few years ago, you both provided a lot of guidance for me, and not just by modeling the right way to handle this position, but also just individually. So I appreciate that and really appreciate both of your commitment and dedication to the commission. It was a lot of time that you both have provided. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I want to, is it okay? I just want to say thank you to all of you for all of your work, and working together with you all has been a pleasure. There's been so many positive changes to the Park and Rec program since I've been here on this commission for the last 8 years. It's been incredible. The skate park, and now again, the skate park, the tennis courts, the basketball courts, just the rec programming is amazing now. And then it was really great to work on the master plan, and I look forward to what you will be doing now with this master plan. I think it's going to be really incredible. Thank you so much. I'll miss you.
Yeah, I echo all of that. I think there's so much energy on the commission. I'm so proud of the work this group has done collectively, and the ideas, the curiosity, the persistence. So thank you, everybody. It's been really fantastic. I'm looking forward to seeing the fruits of the master plan labor. And the other thing I would add to Aline's list of all of the things that have been accomplished in the very recent past is new bathrooms at Town Park, which can't be underestimated in terms of their value to the community. So thank you, everybody.
Applaud.
Yeah. I will work with Commissioner to find times that work with
Super.
Thank you. And with that, it's gavel time. The next regularly scheduled meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission is scheduled for 8/7/2023. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Louise, for joining.